Number one thing, money, 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 money. That's all you hear. Like everything's accustomed to that. And I understand you need it to survive, but years ago, people survived on less and built better families and better children.
But that's because
It's
we could go
different
into the
now.
garden and you know
It's
what I mean.
different now.
It's not
People-
different.
Yeah,
It's the
but
same. It's the
People
same.
are struggling to heat their homes.
People have always been struggling though. Like
No,
people have
but-
always struggled.
No, but
She's
it's
right.
different.
Being born today, you're richer than most people were in all of human history.
Yeah.
You are.
People
Just being
want
born in
more.
2023.
People want more because they can see more and they're more greedy to things.
It's
Like
a-
want everything.
No, I'm interviewing a house.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. You know what time it is? We're talking to you guys Trash Thursdays, and that's where we talk about some trash ass stuff that are happening on this media net. And I want to talk about this particular Pearl reaction. I got one more live to do today. Later on, I'll talk about Big Gorilla, Big Groove later on. But I wanted to talk about this particular video because I was listening to it as I was cooking my scrambled egg, and I was like, "What is going on? This is nonsense!" Like literally, like what you're about to hear is a whole bunch of kerfuffle, okay? A whole bunch of madness, okay? And you'll see it when you hear it. When you hear it, you'll see it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I literally was listening to it and I was like, what? This is delusion. This is delusion. And you know, I wanted you to be a part of the delusion because it's Trash Tuesdays. We've got Mature Mondays, we've got Trash Tuesdays, we've got Wicked Wednesdays, okay, all right. Thirsty Thursdays, and we've got Freaky Fridays. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Like, I want to do a little live, maybe like 10-15 minutes, you know, or 30 minutes during the course of the day. This particular one is crazy. I call it straight delusion. Okay, delusion. All right, listen to this. But if you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the up, lows. And for those of you who are returnees, we appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. And don't forget to click on that bell button for the notifications of the uploads. Let's get into the video. I don't waste much time. You already know what it is, baby. Stay hydrated. You got the minerals, baby. All right, let's get into this video because it's crazy. Okay, let's get into this. We're gonna play it from the very beginning.
Coaches or teachers than my parents because again I'm spending 8 hours.
Okay. However, doing that, I realized if you're not right mentally, you
I
can't.
think you're in denial because I'm going to be real here.
You
as
can't
a
say I'm in denial.
I'm going to be real as a mother.
I agree with that. That's her
I'm gonna-
outlet. Basically, that's her outlet to make sure she's stably and mentally correct for her child.
But it's
You
all for
can't knock her
financial
that.
gain.
No,
She's
but
in
you can't knock
denial.
her for that.
Can I
No,
speak?
no,
Can
but
I
she would
speak?
do
You
it for
can't say I'm in
financial
denial because I
gain.
would do it for free.
She would do it for free. It's a passion project.
That's just her way, basically, her way of her outlet in it, of her releasing herself from her child. She'd prefer to go and do business, whereas some people might do a marathon, or you're still focusing your energy a bit away.
But her
So I think, okay, so what's happening here is a conversation on Pearl's channel. Sorry, I put Trash Thursday. You're right. Thank you for that correction. I appreciate that. I put Trash Thursday. It's Trash Tuesdays. I'm ahead of myself. But yeah, so this conversation starts and they're having a conversation about single mothers and what is good parenting, bad parenting from a single parent or single mother, whatever, right? And so they start talking off about this young black lady who's talking about, you know, starting up a charity, her business, whatever, charity, whatever, whilst parenting. And I'm telling you now, you just need to understand guilt shaming is real. Like, listen, you guys know I try to keep a fair balance on both men and women, and they're going to get held accountable. On this instance, the amount of guilt shaming that's happening for being a single mother is nonsense. It's crazy. I'm sorry. If you're a man listening to this, I need you to pay attention to logic and pay attention to also intelligence, because if you don't, you're going to be flawed and your life will be long. Okay, I want you to listen to what I'm going to say to you on this instance, right? This was interesting, but just listen to some of the arguments that are being made. It's crazy, baby. It's crazy.
point is that it's not, if it's not about profit, it's not a business, then it's
It's
a
not.
hobby.
And you know, maybe it is a hobby, and maybe eventually, actually, my main goal eventually is turn it into a charity. It's based it's my daughter's name.
I
It's-
respect
but
it.
that-
It's
but that is-
passionate. I
It's
understand
passionate.
that.
It's very passionate, and I don't live off it. That was not my aim.
But the point is, you're saying you would rather spend 30% of the week on you than on the family, and it's a modern answer. And so when you're saying it's not a modern answer, it's just not true. It is a modern answer.
So the argument that's happening now is talking about obviously how much time do you have to allot to your children? If you're a parent, how much time do you have to allot to your child, right? And so this young lady has said, obviously, basically, you know, she said, oh, basically, she spends like 30% of her time, whatever, doing up her charity, doing up her hobby, or whatever. And they've turned it into an argument to say you're a modern woman, right? Which is usually code for bad, right? But let's not go there just yet. But you're a modern woman type of mother who'd rather spend more time on building her hobbies or her business than rather spending time with their kids. This is really important because what happens to the conversation later on is wild. Okay, so just stick with it. Just stick with it.
That like she's not with her in the morning, she's not with her at night, she's not with her to drop her
That's
to school.
maintaining a child, raising a child and maintaining.
Okay,
a child
and
is
then
two
what?
different things.
No, but the thing is, you can't say that because I raised my child.
No, but
So it's not.
no one's saying you're wrong in
maintaining.
saying that. You know,
I don't
You're not
believe
wrong in
that if
saying
you're
that.
sending your kid to school, and loads of people would disagree here, you're not really raising your child, because for 8 hours a day, and then you get these independent women
So
that
because
get
your
up in the
child goes
morning
to
and
school, you don't raise your
they do
child.
breakfast club and after club. That's like 10 hours a day. They
My
come
daughter
home.
doesn't do breakfast. Or after,
I'm just
I pick her
saying,
up.
people do this. Like they'll
I
send the
don't.
kids for 10 hours a day. Yeah.
So do you think
Can
you're
I
not?
speak?
I mean,
Can I
Do you
speak?
think that?
she's
But-
right.
For 10 hours a day, yeah, your kid's at school, come home after care, 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
have a wash, watch TV, go to bed. You're not even seeing your child.
No, but I see my
So-
child because she has activities every single
You're
day.
telling
so
me
I
she
have to
goes.
take-
Listen, do you know what's wild about this? Yeah, so the conversation has flipped now. Yeah, because they're talking about what's raising your child. She said, this young lady here said that's you maintaining a child, not you raising a child. So because you send your kid to school for 10 hours or 8 hours, apparently you're not raising your child. If you don't get out of here, what's wrong with you? Where's the common sense in that? Because you send your child to school for 8 or to 10 hours, whatever, for the day, you're not raising your child. Do you know back in the day, some kids were even working because of poverty? Some kids were even working from a very young age because of poverty. They were not raising their child. It's nonsense to have this type of mentality, and it just creates a division unnecessarily. But this is the kind of stuff that Pearl likes putting out because it's nonsensical, and it works for a trove of certain men and women, and particularly men who love lapping this up because they have no form of intelligence. Can I be honest with you? Like, if you have an ounce of intelligence, your brain is gonna critically think to say, what kind of argument is that? Right? Don't get it twisted. Listen, you sending your kid to school. I like school. I didn't like it all the way, but I like school. Did I like going to school at first? No. There's not every day I wanted to go to school. Do you know what it was though? Every day I go to work, I don't like it every day. I mean, I love my job, can't lie to you. But when I was doing 9 to 5, do you know what it was also? I didn't like going to my job every single day, but I had to go. School is a part of one of those things of teaching you about life. If it's not school, it's going to be something else. But how does you sending your child to school mean you're not raising your child? I get part of the argument. Part of the argument is saying that you're allowing someone else to have more input into your child, right? All right. Tell them again, Angel. Tell them again. They don't know about this. They don't know about this. All right. In some aspects, I do understand where she's coming from by saying you're going to have, and they're going to get to this part. I'm going ahead of myself. You're going to have less input into that child, right? Which I understand. But this has always been the way. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It's always been the way. Because if you weren't rich and you didn't have money, and even if you did have money, you'd be working, earning your money so you can keep earning money. If you were poor, you were working to have some money and you weren't spending time with your kids anyway. There is no perfect medium. Whether they go to school or whether they're at home, no one really gets to spend an awesome amount of time with their kids forever. It's about the quality of that timing. Most kids are traumatized, not by necessarily the amount of time, but usually by in that amount of time they spent, what happened? Now, of course, some of us have abandonment issues because some of our parents didn't spend any time with us at all. But that's another conversation. But we'll get into this.
to school, so you're not raising your child. Your child's being
I don't
programmed to the
agree.
social norm.
I don't agree with that. You have to raise your child because
You're
in the
not raising
morning-
your child.
I am raising my child.
you're
I
not
definitely
raising
am
your
raising my
child.
child.
She's right. And I mean,
I feel like that makes socially awkward people.
I'm not. My child's not so socially awkward. My child is so confident. She teaches a class of 30 children and 30 people.
Where does she teach that?
My classes. I run classes.
Hold on. Hold the frick on. Deep what she's saying. Okay. By the way, you might not know this, right? The lady on the left, okay, is saying she homeschools her child, because I've watched part of this. So the lady on the left says she homeschools her child. I need you to understand how wild this is. She homeschools her child, okay? Her child now has become a teacher at some degree, teaches other kids in her class for a class of 30. You don't like school, but you homeschooling other people's kids and then using your kid to homeschool them. You're a school. Like, what? What all you've done is remove the state from what you're talking about. You're telling me you want to homeschool your child, fine. But then your child is able to homeschool 30 other kids, which means you have a school. So what difference is it if they're being homeschooled by you versus the state? Whether you're programming them or whether the state is programming them or whether the government is programming them, you're having more input into somebody else's kid than they're having into their own kid. So you perpetuating the same thing that you said you're trying to avoid. The very thing you're trying to run away from, you've actually put someone else's kid into that same situation. So why is your daughter teaching 30 other kids? Why is your daughter and why are you and your daughter teaching 30 other kids? I don't get it. So then what's the problem with school? Just say you have an issue with school and that you didn't get on with it, rather than trying to make it like school or programming. You're programming. Because when I teach, if I'm on YouTube, I am programming other people, whether we like it or not, whether it's for the good or for the bad. Everybody's programming somebody and something. YouTube is one of those things. So it's called a YouTube channel. When people click on, they're being programmed. If you want to homeschool, you can homeschool. I'm not bothered whether you homeschool or not. I'm not gonna say one is better than the other. I'm not gonna talk one is better than the other. I'm gonna say that, you know what I'll say? I love school. And there are other people that hated it, but I'll be honest with you, it builds some serious character for a lot of us, But
anyway, she teaches people. She's more confident than the average
So you believe
girl.
when you send your child to school that you're not raising them at all?
You're giving another adult time. You're giving another adult more time to spend with your child than you will.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I'll say I went to school, but there were times when I certainly spent more time with coaches or teachers than my parents, because again, I'm spending 8 hours a day in school. So when you have one homeroom teacher and they teach most of your classes in 3rd grade, you're spending 8 hours a day communicating with that homeroom teacher. A parent just can't keep up. And we now have outcomes where kids are getting brainwashed in schools, and now
they don't even know.
So hold on, Pearl. You went to school. You spent 8 hours, maybe 10 hours, okay, a day in your school. In your school, you spent 8 to 10 hours with coaches and teachers. There's an argument that's going to come later on. I'm confused as to what the argument here is for you, because you turned out okay. Okay, you turned out okay. All right, and the reason why you turned out okay is because either method works. Because at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, your parents, Pearl, if you don't know Pearl's history, her dad is in like the top 1% financially. Guess what? He ain't homeschooling you for shit. You go into school. Yeah, you go into school. You go into school. You know why? Because he believes in that. You know why? Because at the end of the day, money-wise, okay, he has all the money in the world to homeschool you, but he didn't. He sent you to school. He sent you probably to a private education, okay, for a particular reason. So did your mom not raise you? right? The quality of time is more important than just the quantity of time. Yes, quantity of time can make a difference over a stretch, but quality of time is so important. We talk about this, how the influence of, it's not the trauma from school that makes people turn out mad. It's a trauma from home that makes people mad. When I say mad, in terms of people doing stuff and trauma and acting in a particular way, it's the trauma from home. So those little hours you're spending at home that turns kids into little munchkins and monsters is telling me that the quality of time and who it's from is very important, rather than talking about just the quality of time in terms of rather than the quantity of time of 8 hours, etc. You know, that if you look at this logically, right? If you look at it logically, right? The trauma that you get from home is what bleeds into schooling. Those first few years that the child has with their parents are formatively years. They're formative years, right? And so whatever's being taught in the home, how you're being trained, oftentimes bleeding into school. Now, it's important that we feed into our children at that young age, of course. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you, I like school, so I don't know.
But parenting isn't just smothering your child 24/7. They are meant to be practicing independence. They're meant to be meeting people. They're meant to be interacting. They're meant to be in social situations. They have to grow up.
So just because you homeschool your child doesn't mean they miss out on any of those aspects. You, as a mother, have a duty to ensure those are in place. It's not just in school that they get them.
But I'm just going off the point that Pearl made. Like, that just because I'm not spending 24/7 with them every second and I'm sending them to school.
Exactly.
That's
sometimes it's best for the child as well. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes who knows, like the child might be fed up of you.
No, but I'm not saying homeschooling is based upon you living with your child 24/7.
Yeah, but you are saying that if someone sends their child to school,
you said that her working twice.
I mean, listen, I'll be honest with you. If I had to stay at home the whole entire time, knowing that my friends were outside at school, of course, I would have to know I have friends, because if I've been homeschooling the whole entire time, I don't really know what I'm missing. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm missing. So again, I think this goes back to this whole aspect of, again, once more, what's good for you might not be good for someone else. But I think the reality is most people can't homeschool because most of us are not great teachers. That's the reality. Most of us are horrible teachers. Okay. And so and hopefully when you go to school, you choose a good school that has good teachers, hopefully, right? Not everyone gets to go to good schools. But also as well, like our lives, or I should say, our environment is also changed, right? Because we're a capitalist society in some sense as well. And schooling is part of that socializing which happens. And that's fair. Like we go to school, we socialize, we learn critical skills, we learn how to be around other people, we learn how to handle tough situations. Yes, a lot of times it can be hard and it can be sometimes traumatic. You know what I'm saying? But for a lot of us, I did not want to stick around my parents all day. Can I be honest with you? I didn't want to see them sometimes. I was glad to be in school for 8 hours sometimes. You know what I mean? I come home and, mom might be home because she was working half days, whatever. I appreciate mom. I love seeing her for 1 or 2 hours, because you know why? I spent 8 hours with my friends. I can come and say hello to you. But you know what it was? As soon as I saw my mom for 1 hour, 2 hours, I wanted to go back out again. I wanted to go back out again and play football for another 2-3 hours. Kids want to be kids, B. Now, I'm saying most kids, not all, but a lot of us do not want to spend all day with our parents shackled at the hip. A lot of us want to go out with our friends and be around. I'm talking about young, you know what I mean? Like we want to go out and be with other people and be, enjoy our time with like-minded, like-aged peers. I do not want to be spending my 15 to 16 years with my parent by my hip. Mum, do you know what I'm saying? But that's me personally. And there's some kids, like I said, there's a minority of kids this doesn't work for. Of course, you work it with whatever you work it with, but the majority of us need that space. A majority of us need that space. Like it's you know what I mean?
They're not raising their children.
I think you're not raising your child.
She is raising her child.
No.
But why are you the judge? What makes
This is
you
my
a
opinion.
judge?
That's my opinion. Like, she's got hers, you've got yours. I'm just saying, for 8 hours a day, your child is under the care of somebody else. And for most people, they're going to breakfast club and aftercare. So that's 10 hours a day.
Okay,
It's only
that's
24,
I get what you're saying
and
there.
they've
I
got
get
to
what
sleep.
she's saying
You get
there.
4 hours in the weekday with your child. That is absurd.
But her
That's insane. And they've got to have a wash.
She doesn't go breakfast.
I understand, but your child also needs to learn other fundamental skills.
They don't need to do it.
Yes,
It doesn't take
they
10 hours a
do.
day. It doesn't take 10 hours a
So
day.
can I ask you a question? So
She's
I don't know about 10 hours.
Guys, wait. Okay. You can
It's
go.
so interesting, boy.
you see, you're homeschooling your child. Would you say now you're fully raising your child because you're homeschooling your child? Is that what you
Not
see?
Elson said she'll
Like, is that your point?
all the
'Cause
time.
I'm sending my child to school
believe-
and I'm not raising her. That's what you said. So what is it from homeschooling perspective? How would you view it?
I believe I've got more of an input
Okay.
of what I can put into my child and more of a say. Whereas for 10 hours, 8 hours a day at school, I don't have a say.
Can I ask you another question? Is
Yeah.
that one of the main reasons you chose to homeschool your child?
I chose to homeschool because I went to school and then I was always like 2-3 years ahead. So in year 1, I was in year 3. In year 3, I was in year 5. And like, I'd finish my work in 20 minutes. So why do I need 8 hours a day if I can complete my work in 20 minutes? I'm not saying.
Okay, so she said she was so smart, she finished her work in 20 minutes. Baby, it sounds like you were in the wrong school. Okay? It sounds like you were in the wrong school or you were in the wrong class. Okay? It sounds like you should have been ahead of your class, and right now you should have been a genius. No, listen to what you just said. No. I need us to deep it, because you're on. I'm not gonna lie to you. She may be vastly intelligent, but I'm not seeing that intelligence come through in the way she's articulating these points. If you were always ahead of your class and you finished your work 20 minutes ahead, I remember in school we used to have what we call sets. Yeah, so in every year group you have like 5 sets, from set 1 to set 5, and it would be based upon children's academical skill and prowess. I was in when I first started the school, I was in set 3. Yeah, I remember I was in set 3, and I remember us doing the work, right? And I was breezing through the work. I mean, I was like, I was killing the work, right? And as I was killing the work, the teacher was like, "Have you finished already?" I said, "Yeah, I finished." And he was like, "I think you're in the wrong class." I said, "Maybe I am." I even started helping other kids. I was like, "How do you not know this?" Because my primary school where I came from was really good primary school. So primary school meaning from the ages of 5 to 11, right? So from 12 to 16 is our secondary school, right? So I was killing it, and he was like, "You're in the wrong class. Let me send you to set 1." Brother, I got to set 1 and I realized I'm not that smart. There are other smart people in the class. Okay. I realized, no, you're not as smart as you thought you were, right? Because I was in the wrong class. And so the work that was set for me was inappropriate for the level of intelligence that I had. I needed to go to another class. Right? So once I got to a higher class, I realized, there were other smart people in this class as well, I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Right? So it's interesting to see that. So and that school that I went to, the GCSE pass rate was very, very low. Very, very low. So you can only imagine that if I went to another school where the pass rate was extremely high, I may not have been so high and mighty to say I'm so smart. I would have quickly realized I really ain't. And I keep saying it, if you really are that smart, you see, she made it as if her smartness was so much. That's why she had to homeschool. Sis, if that's the reason why you're homeschooling because you're so smart, I'm telling you now, you won't be sitting on this platform talking the way you're talking. Can I be honest with you? Yeah? I'm just going to be honest with you. Yeah? I'm not saying that she's not intelligent. I'm not saying she ain't. Okay. I'm not saying she ain't. I'm saying that, but you wouldn't be talking the way you're talking about the same way you did it. You get what I'm saying? So you have to understand that it may be you are smarter than your age group. You may be ahead of your age group, because remember, age groups also dependent upon academical year, and you may be born in September, and you may, it's always complicated like that, right? And you may be ahead of your year. I used to have a boy who was, a boy who was, I think he held back a year, but he was killing it because he was so smart so he really should have been in the year above. So even that can make a difference. So what we really need to understand here in this instance is that her smartness is not why you're not going to school, babe. Yeah. If you believe because you're smart, that's why school can't do nothing for you, I'm going to tell you that you probably went in the wrong school. You're in the wrong school. There were other schools out there. If you went to, I'm telling you, you'll realize that you know what? Maybe you're smart, but there are other smart people too. Just saying,
Say my child's me, because she isn't, but I'm intelligent enough to educate my own child.
Yeah, I have a question. So who has more influence over your kid? Someone spending 8 to 10 hours a day with your kid, or someone spending 4?
The teacher, be honest.
And why do you think we have these kids that are coming home literally thinking they're women? Like little boys literally coming home thinking they're women.
That's bonkers.
And women, young women literally coming home and thinking they're men.
Yeah.
Okay, let me be very clear. Listen, I'm all against the transgender agenda, and I'm talking about agenda. But that's a jump. That's a leap. Kids are not coming home saying they're boys and girls because they're being taught that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying there isn't a small percentage of that happening, but I'm gonna say, that's a bit of a jump. Yeah. I'm not saying there's some poor curriculums and things that shouldn't be taught, but that's a bit of a jump. Okay. All right. That's a bit of a jump. That is happening. Okay. I think it's easy to say that people are having leftist ideas, if you want to call it that, or haven't necessarily be thinking about transgender simply because there's stuff in the school. Let's not do that. Like I don't believe that to be necessarily the case. And again, my truest thoughts on transgender, we're talking about, I believe, I'll be honest with you, you're fighting mental health. If I'm honest with you, that's my honest opinion, because you are fighting something that you're saying you have no inkling of being, but you believe you're meant to be that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm saying I want to be, I'm supposed to be white, but I'm black. How would I know I'm meant to be white if I've never been white? How am I meant to know I'm meant to be a woman if I've never been a woman before? But I feel like being a woman. So you feel like it. We're talking about feelings then. So it's mental in that instance. It isn't always about what education someone has. You know what I mean? There are greater influences that are happening around us that are more than just your schooling that's happening. That's the reason why that's happening, right? That's another thing as well.
Yeah, and then when they get older, they're even saying, I want to go back to this. Yeah, like Angelina Jolie's child.
We went to private school, like Catholic school, and even us, they showed my sister CNN Kids. Why are they showing a liberal news network to my 5th grade child? And that's our point. You can avoid a lot of those problems by homeschooling. I mean,
homeschool is on the rise. Like, there's a reason for that.
But you're going to be in the world regardless.
Anyway. Yeah, it's on the internet.
You're going to be in the world regardless.
Yeah, but you need to make them aware of certain things that you believe in your family culture or tradition or whatever. Otherwise, they're going to be led astray.
And that's why you have conversations with your children. That's why you have your conversation. That's why you have conversations with your children. So this is why it's important. This is why it's important to have conversations with your children, whether it's 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Listen, I spent enough time with my parents, enough time in church, enough time, with my siblings, stuff like that, what you're being taught by your parents. I didn't need 10 hours a day with my parents to know what they taught me. Do you know what I'm saying? All right. So at the end of the day, we're taught by our parents, and we take it into school. Now, of course, school will teach you something different. I understand. I remember the first time they taught me evolution, right? And I remember I was like, I don't believe in evolution. I remember I spoke to the science teacher. I don't believe in evolution. I believe that God created the world. And he told me, listen, well, this is science. And in science, we believe evolution is this. I said, all right, cool. Right. But I believe what I believe as God this. So again, it's about teaching also. You're having time to teach your child. Going even to church. The church is only 3 hours long. You get a message, which is about 40 minutes long. So it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. Okay. Even the Bible says you are in the world. You're not supposed to be part of it. You can't run away from the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? So you have to understand that what you're teaching your child, you're teaching them from early. That's what needs to be spoken about. It's not about the schooling. It's about understanding. Okay. All right. How to what? First and foremost, you have to input into your child. That means when you every moment you're having with your child, you're actually teaching them. You know, like I said, a lot of time as children, we are learning through observation of what our parents actually do, because we admire our parents oftentimes from a very young age. So we're watching what they do. How do they treat each other? How do they talk to other people? How do they talk to us? What is it they talk to us about? Right? Do you get what I'm saying? So are you inputting that? Let me look. You know, I talked to my siblings. I talked to my younger sister when they were younger. I remember one day. I remember this, right? I remember the youngest one, my youngest sister. Yeah, we were walking from Sainsbury's. Take this. I was walking from Sainsbury's. Sorry, I was walking from a supermarket shop, and I was walking with her, and we went to buy cookies, and we came back. This girl starts telling me stuff that I couldn't dream of. Telling me, you know, well, I'm talking about like she was like 5, telling me stuff that at 15 I didn't even know. I'm like, how the hell do you know that? Some things are also wisdom. Some kids are given a gift of wisdom. But what you don't realize is she's listening to all the conversations we have. So as at my age when I was 15, I'm having conversations. She's listening to me. She's listening to things I said, the same way I was listening to my dad and my mom and the things they would say. And just because they weren't speaking to me directly, I was being taught. So this is also important. Quantity doesn't beat necessarily quality. The amount of quality time, because the investment of quality tends to trump the quantity, sorry. So the question is, what am I teaching my child by the way that I live my life? What am I teaching my child by the way that I talk to them? What am I teaching my child when I talk to other people? So you can't stop that learning process. You can't. It's gonna happen. You know, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but then that is down to you as a parent to make sure that you raise your child with those values.
How can you do that when they're at school? That doesn't happen. You only got 4 hours with them. How can you do that?
My parents did it with me, and I think I turned out all right.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I feel like the 4 hours. That's only okay. There's term time.
You've turned out to be a modern woman, so that if you're happy with that, which is I respect it.
I'm modern,
and you're also
traditional.
But so are modern women. They think they're still traditional. But if you're not all of it, you're not any of it. You either are or you ain't.
She's right.
Okay.
But why?
She's right.
Why? You can't be in between. You can't have the best of both worlds. That's
but why?
What? How can? Because it doesn't function right. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Because then you're in the house now with your man, trying to make out like you're equal with arguments and debates.
No, I don't think we're
equal. You said that earlier.
We have
can't have a say.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't have a say at certain things, you're not going to be happy. But this is the problem. You either are or you ain't. So go and chase your career, or be a stay-at-home mom.
So I can have my career, and my husband can be supportive of that, and I can still be a good mom, and I can still be a good wife.
This is what they mean. Like modern women live in.
So you could So I think I mean I'm getting confused because I think again whenever this argument comes up about modern women, it ends up translating to being about whether you're good rather than just being different. And I think that's where you know, that's where I'm finding an issue. It was like, if we're having an argument about traditional versus modern, that's fine, but it's not about good versus bad. It's about understanding that there are different nuances and different benefits that are going to happen on either side, right? We talk, and I said this myself. I said, marrying somebody who is let's say quote unquote traditional, let's just say this, a woman that wants to stay at home all the time. I said the way that I think, and I think about psychology, somebody who has been educated, somebody who has spent time in education, has done all of this, right? When their mind is not going to be utilized, this can actually cause issues. You know what I mean? So me expecting somebody who's gone through the same educational system that I've gone through, probably has dreams and ambitions, me expecting you to be a single to be a stay-at-home mom might be a little bit of a stretch. Because once you have that education and knowledge, you tend to want to apply it. Most of us, not all, right? And again, I think there are exceptions to the rule. So me expecting you to be a stay-at-home mom would be kind of wild all the time. And I'm not saying maybe 1 or 2 years. I'm talking about staying the entirety. It might be a little bit wild because in the end, you probably want to be able to use your education and use what knowledge you have and what you've acquired and what you've accrued. You've worked hard for your degree and diplomas and blah, blah. Like that's the issue. The education creates more of a desire to want more. So if you force someone into the box of being, let me just stay a single, let me stay in the mother role, you can actually potentially cause there to be more issues. So you have to be ready that this might shift and move, because I remember this is happening with on Love and Marriage Huntsville, which was happening. This was happening with what's his name? What's his name? The guy that what's her name? The one that does estate retail does retail estate retail estate. I can't remember their names now. Not Maurice, is it? It's the other one. But anyway, the couple, whatever, yeah, he didn't want his wife to go into retail, right? Because he wanted her to stay at home, look after the kids, But what he forgot was, Marceau, thank you. What he forgot was the education she had gone through and what she had studied. She was never going to stay in that position, right? Because for her, she's got all of this educational knowledge bubbling up. It's going to want to come out. Once you start to learn and start to learn in a particular field or area, it tends to want to, what did I say? Real estate. That's a real estate reality. Did I say? But it tends to want to come out. So the person tends to want to use those skills. So it's, it is what it is, right? What it really is in these moments are, can I have a conversation? Thank you, Bula Sweets. I think that's a great point. Can I have a conversation? Like, I started to realize that a lot of our reasoning becomes out of fear. For instance, let's say, my teacher for my child is gay, right? Your first thought might be, I don't want a gay teacher. They're going to turn out gay. And it's like, no, this is actually a great opportunity now for me to teach my child. Right? It's actually a great opportunity now to have a real conversation with my child, because inevitably my child is going to encounter gay people in life. They're going to encounter transgender people in life. They're going to encounter people that are LGBTQA alphabet. They're going to encounter these people. They're going to encounter disabled people. They're going to encounter people that are mad. They're going to encounter people that are lovely, nice. They're going to meet all types of people in the world. I cannot shield you from that. What I can do is give you a set of skills that allow you to navigate effectively through these kind of people, right? So to get along with these people, to work alongside, how to know when and where to open your mouth, not when to open your mouth, and to use wisdom. These are actually quintessential points of teaching. So if your child comes out and said, "Oh, my teacher's gay," I'm not gonna get like, "Oh my god!" Like, you get, all right, okay, let's have a conversation. What is it that you know about gay people? Maybe I need a refresher of my understanding as well. Maybe I need a refresher because I might have outdated, antiquated thoughts. Now, of course, if a teacher's moving mad, okay, and here's the thing, you will know. Let me tell you how you know. When you have conversations with your kids, and I can say this as a big brother, as some of the conversations I've had with my siblings and myself, when a teacher says something that goes against what they've been taught, that child normally comes home and says something. So and so said this. When they say they said this and this, now you know. Okay, great. This is what we believe. This is what we believe. Is what we, because a child is more inclined to take your side when it because of the fact that, you know, first of all, you have that connection, you know, and is person's got a connection, and that child also, because of the love it has for you, tends to listen to what you got to say and how you're going to handle the situation. Children tend to follow in the footsteps of observation of their parents. So how am I going to handle that situation? How am I going to talk to you about what's happening in the school fear? So if you come and tell me X, Y, and Z was said, I'm like, okay. I mean, we don't agree with that, right? Just like when I was younger, and people said they were having sex at 15, at 14, 13, 12, whatever. Us so-called Christians, let me say so-called Christians would be like, oh my God, how are you having sex before marriage? God doesn't allow that to do. I mean, I was so harsh in my school times. How did I know that? If I only spent 4 hours in a day with my parents, and I spent 3 hours max on a Sunday, I didn't read my Bible per se, I was a young kid, how would I be able, right? You know, how would I be able to then say this to somebody else? It's because the belief system that's been embedded in me. So your quality time is more important than the quantity of time. So you send your child into school and you send them with your how should you say, ideology, and they're going to be tested out there. The school is going to come with a different ideology, and what we need to be encouraging is critical thinking and conversations. You know, so yes, you're absolutely right. Sexuality is being taught in school. Do you know what sexuality is? No. Do you? Do you know what's? You see, you're talking about the not you, Bola, by the way, not you, Bola, but you know, we're talking about. I'm starting to clock it in deeper. I'm like, I need to check myself. As I'm talking to you guys, I'm saying I need to check myself, because here's the thing: how good is my knowledge? For instance, if the school starts teaching sexuality, can I wrestle with the teaching? Can I instruct and can I teach? Can I do that? Right? Can I actually teach it better than the school is teaching it? When I say that in the sense of, can I teach my ideology to you so that it's understandable for you to be able to combat what you're hearing? Because no child is going to school with a clean slate. You're teaching them your ideology. Do you see? So there are going to be many battles you're going to face. First and foremost, what are you inputting into that child, man and woman? And this is why family units are so important, because especially for the father figure, this is why I hate this conversation outside of father figures. Because whether you're a daughter or a father, the father being an authority figure in the home, his voice becomes even more weightier. What that father says, he can say a few words and it becomes weightier. Do you know how many people I hear say, my dad said so? That will be their only answer for whatever you're saying. For my dad says so. So it is what it is. Or and some people say their mums, because their mum might be the authority in the home, whichever, right? We're not disputing that right now, right? So having that family unit is quintessential. The issue we're having is when there are broken homes, there is a missing voice. And this is why men are so important, and they don't realize you not being part of the family. And I'm not talking about you going to work. I'm talking about you not being a part of the family. You not being a part of the family and not being involved means your voice is missing, meaning that the authority that you carry oftentimes is missed. Right? I remember one time a gang came up to me in my ends and they were like to me, join the gang. I said, my mom will kill me. Guys, I promise you, what you can do, my mom can do 10 times worse. That was my argument. I didn't have any other argument. My only argument was my mom will kill me, and that's it. When he asked me to smoke, I said, you know what? I took a little, I said, this is not it. My mom will kill me. No, I'm not going to get involved. And so we have to go back to that basic. What they're doing out there, they're going to always do. But what we do in our home, this is what's teaching you. how to behave. We need to condition them so that when they go out there, they can go through these things. You know what I mean? Because let me tell you, my mom will kill me. Hey, my mom will send me to Ghana with a packet of Ribena or orange juice. No, I can't be involved. I'm sorry, guys. I appreciate it. Where does that come from? It comes from the teaching. Well, whether you believe in beating or not is another story, but you know, that's another conversation another day. Do you know what I mean? You know, so every time you get your children, you're programming them, you know, and you're teaching them valuable skills. I gotta go. I've got a session, but this has been a good conversation. I might do a part 2 when I come back, but I like this conversation. I think we, as a community, these are some conversations that I didn't even realize we need to have. But yeah, you know, and this last point, yes, this is true. I'll be honest, I learned about safe sex through school. My parent never talked to us about sex. It was very taboo. I had questions about it. A teacher gave me safe space to talk about sex. This is an important point. I didn't learn about how to put a condom on for my parents. Sorry to say it. They didn't teach me how to put a condom on. I keep telling you, some of you are scared to have this conversation. My parents didn't teach me how to put a condom on. It was school, right? And thank God, because some of us would have kids upon kids, you know? So it works and it doesn't work in some instances. All right, I gotta go. Okay, I got to go. But you know, we're gonna continue this conversation because I like it. I think we should have a conversation like this. It'd be a really good one as well. In fact, I might put this on a Patreon and actually have this conversation on Discord. I think this would be a good conversation. But you know what? I'm not gonna leave you alone.
What's up? You know what I mean? I'm from